Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex-wife that we lived in a rental apartment? Hi. Back in 2008 when I started university, I rented a 2-bedroom apartment with my ex-girlfriend at the time and my friend and his girlfriend. We got a great deal for it, as the owner of the place lost his job because of everything that happened back then and decided to try her luck abroad where she still lives. Years went by and after university my friend and his girlfriend decided to find a place of their own. As we had full-time jobs, renting this apartment together did not seem expensive anymore, and also did not seem expensive to rent alone after we broke up some time later. So there I was, alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in the central part of the city. The owner decided that she was too lazy to mess with bills and stuff every month and made arrangements for me to pay everything directly. As I earned her trust, I still pay her monthly rent, which is very cheap for today, and deal with everything else having her authorization. Because of the perfect location, my second bedroom was basically free B&B for my friends who did not live in the city, and I did not mind. It is good to have company if you live alone. In 2020 I met a girl who was in a rush to get married, and as I was madly in love we did in 2021. For some reason, I never told her the story of how I rented the place or that it was a rental at all. It just never came up. I have been so used to the fact that I am an authorized representative with building cooperative things etc., that I refer to it as my place. Our relationship started to cool down and we found out that we were not perfect for each other after all, so divorce it is. So we did the paperwork for divorce and she is moving out. A few days ago I received an email from her with a real estate valuation document as an attachment. While I was not at home she wasted €500 for someone to evaluate an apartment that does not belong to us, and wrote that I probably have to take a loan to pay her the 50% of that. I replied to her, didn't I ever tell her that this place is a rental? Why does she even assume that I can afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the city center? She knows where I work and how much I earn. She called and screamed at me that I had lied to her for years and hid the fact that the apartment was rental. Then she tells me that, well, she will take the car as we got that together. And I was quiet for a moment and then told her, you do know that is a lease, right? The owner of the car is the bank. Then she demanded that I pay for the valuation and I replied, I did not ask you to do it. She called me an a-hole and ended the call. Of course, she told our whole friends group how I lied to her during the whole marriage, and there was a discussion in a messenger group with friends that if is it a lie or not, whether was it an a-hole thing to do. Some agree with me and some with her. My best friend told me that this is a perfect topic for a Reddit thread. Now I ask you Reddit, am I the a-hole? Top comments. It's odd you didn't tell her, but also odd that it wasn't part of your conversation about life and who was paying for things and how and so on. Not the a-hole. OP replies. She did cover 50% of the utility bills, as she wanted to contribute. And it was no secret that I had been living there for a very long time. I just never spelt it out that this is rental. I think she assumed I owned it because we did some maintenance there together that you normally don't do in a rental, changed the wallpaper in the living room and got a few appliances when old ones broke down. Not the a-hole. I wonder why she was in such a rush to get married. Was her plan all along to get married and then take you for half of everything after a couple of years? I'm sorry, this is technically not funny, but I laughed so much when she tried to get half of the apartment, failed, then tried to get the car and you just drop, that's a rental XD, she tried so hard. Not the a-hole. It's weird that it didn't come up at some point, but you are not an a-hole for not specifically telling her. Out of curiosity, which EU country do you live in that she would claim half of anything when it's premarital assets? Which clearly wasn't in this case cause rental, but just wondering. Not the a-hole for not disclosing the rental, though I do find it strange you guys seem to have somehow not communicated enough regarding finances/assets before and during your common life together. I really enjoy when greedy people get nothing. Not the a-hole, and thanks for sharing. Not the a-hole. You never lied and told her you owned, she was the one making assumptions. Even if you rent, it's not uncommon to refer to it as my place or home, etc. She sounds like a money-grabbing B-word, and I'm happy that you rent your apartment and lease your car so you aren't losing half of them to her. At least now you know for sure who she is and that you made the right decision to get divorced. OP replies. Yeah, all my friends call their rental places my place or home. Imagine, hey, wanna hang out in the place I rent? Or, it is late, I will go to the place I rent now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting a babysitter because my mom was keeping her home? I'm a single mom with a 4-year-old daughter, Anna. Anna and I live with my mom. We both work and Anna goes to daycare full-time. Daycare would be about half my income, so I get a subsidy that covers $1,400 out of her $2,000 tuition. The only condition of the subsidy is that she actually has to show up. If she misses too many days, I lose the subsidy. I go to work at 7:30 and daycare opens at 8, so my mom would be the one to take Anna to daycare. Anna's main teacher is a 21-year-old girl. When I've talked to her, she's always been very animated and energetic. She's great with the kids. Anna always comes home saying this teacher brought stickers, she brought juice, she brought bubbles, she did face painting, etc., and always has fun crafts that she did with her teacher. This teacher is her favorite person in the world right now, and Anna often runs away from my mom to jump on this teacher in the mornings and hides when my mom picks her up because she doesn't want to leave this teacher. My mom started to get jealous that Anna likes the teacher better than her, so she started keeping her home from daycare on her days off / when she only has 1 to 2 easy clients. She cleans houses. I found out Anna missed 5 days over the past 3 weeks. I asked my mom about it and she told me she wanted Anna to spend more time with family instead of with teachers. I told my mom Anna needs to be in daycare unless she's sick or I would lose the subsidy. She was arguing that if Anna needs to be in daycare, she should be in one with more family values and not some rich white girl trying to save the poor kids. The teacher is a girl from a well-off family marrying into a well-off family, and the daycare isn't in the most well-off neighborhood. She has bins full of clothes for the kids, gave everyone a water bottle with their name on it, has a much nicer classroom than the other teachers, and drives a car worth more than my mom and I combined could make in a year. She's setting up a field trip to the local airport so her fiancé can talk to the kids about flying planes and so they can look at his jet. I told her I wouldn't. This is the best daycare that takes this subsidy and I won't be moving her just because she's jealous. She was still insisting on Anna either being with family or being in a more family-based daycare, so I got her a babysitter. I drop her off to my neighbor at 7:30 when I leave for work, and she drops Anna off at 8:15 on her way to take her kids to school. She only charges me $10 a day. I don't love the breakfasts that she gives Anna, but I know she's going to daycare and I won't lose the subsidy. Now my mom is pissed that I'm keeping Anna away from her. Am I the a-hole for sending Anna to a babysitter in the mornings because my mom wasn't taking Anna to daycare? Top comments. You are not the a-hole. Your mother is overstepping, but the correct solution, regardless of how challenging it will be, is for you to move out and handle all of this on your own. Opie replies. That would be a stretch for me and Anna, but maybe possible if we move from our 3-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom apartment. My mom couldn't afford to live on her own. Not the a-hole. You sound like a responsible parent, and you did a good job solving a problem here. Congrats on getting your daughter a slot in an excellent daycare / preschool and for doing what you need to do to keep the subsidy that pays for it. Early childhood education is super important. It sounds like your daughter is learning and socializing in a positive environment and that she loves being there. That's awesome, and it will help lay the foundation for future success in school. Your mom is being totally unreasonable, and sounds like you already know that. Would she be interfering with your daughter's education and keeping her home from school randomly if she was in 3rd grade? What about 11th grade? Sigh. Good luck as you continue to navigate this, and you're definitely not the a-hole here. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is thriving in her classroom and her teacher genuinely cares about her students. And most importantly, your daughter loves her. That stuff she's giving to students, those activities, mostly come out of her personal finances. How is this not family values? Teaching compassion and spreading joy? That's literally the best lesson to teach. Mom needs a refresher on that. Do whatever you can to keep your kid in this woman's class. If you need to have a friend pick her up to go to school, do it. If you can negotiate with your employer or the school to get a better drop-off time, do that. Whatever you need to do. Next story. Am I the a-hole for accidentally ruining my friend's kid's safe food? So earlier today we were at a mutual friend's kid's birthday party with all our kids. Standard kid birthday party barbecue food, hot dogs and hamburgers. I was helping the hosts on the barbecue and slinging dogs and burgers to all the kids and adults. One of the kids at the party asked if we had any bologna, told him no bologna, only hot dogs and hamburgers, and jokingly said, "But hot dogs and bologna are basically the same meat, just in a different form." Kid didn't take either, grabbed some chips and went off and did their thing with the other kids. About 2 hours after the party, I get a text from the kid's dad, which I found a bit odd. We went to school from kindergarten to graduating university, but not let's go do something this weekend kind of friends. In the text he is losing his mind that I ruined the one food they could rely on him eating, bologna, because I said it was the same meat as a hot dog and explained that their son is a very picky eater. I genuinely feel bad because I know how hard it can be to feed a kid when they don't want anything you cook, but I had no idea how deep it ran with their son. The hosts, texting me asking if the other friend reached out and said that I did nothing wrong and that it was being blown way out of proportion, and if the kid had such a good aversion it should have been brought up beforehand by the parents, but I can't help feeling like a total jerk all afternoon. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Not your kid, not your responsibility. If the kid only eats bologna, which is a serious problem in itself, then the parents are responsible for providing bologna. Also, you just told the kid a fact. Anyone that gets upset over their child learning actual information, and blaming someone else instead of dealing with the fallout themselves, isn't parenting correctly. So why didn't the dad send bologna with him? The entitlement. My son as a toddler had many allergies and ate certain foods. I was around many Caribbean folks and they use a lot of coconut milk in their food. My son can't have that. Nor seafood or shellfish. No milk. Lactose milk only. And then he had eczema as well. So I always had a small cooler with fruits, crackers and sandwiches for him. Water and juice. Candy. His iPad and toys to keep busy. I would call the parents ahead of time and let them know my kid has some snacks that he can eat. Simple. Not the a-hole they're blaming you, but this whole situation was well within their control. You made an offhand joke. They could easily tell the kids, it was a joke, it's different, and then describe some safe version of why it's different. Or they could have told the host in advance about this issue and spread the information around. It was a bad move of them to go to a barbecue and not bring what their kid would need, not warn you in advance of what is effectively a secret they need you to join in on keeping, and not tell their kids a good answer afterwards. Also, I was a childcare provider for 18 years. There are ways around food issues, but the parents need to be willing to listen to the kid about why they're picky. If this one likes bologna, it might be an autistic sensitivity to texture and the unexpected. If they like fruity candy but not berries, that would confirm the suspicion. If it's a dislike of the idea of animal products, then it might be time for some Impossible burgers and cheesy lentils. I have watched a lot of kids who the parents said were too picky for anything new and introduced them to loads of stuff, but did it in a way where the kids didn't feel pressured to have more than a bite, but I was going to eat it and enjoy it. Kids are tiny humans with their own opinions and interests, and once you get to know them and ask them about themselves, it's usually not that hard to get them to open up a bit on their foods. They have different palates physically from adults, and they should be allowed to have bodily autonomy and have a say in what they eat without their parents acting resentful and pissy about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he's the one who gave me the ultimatum, so he needs to deal with the consequences? My mom died when I, 17, was 5. My dad remarried when I was 8 and made a blended family with his wife and her 2 kids. Then they had 2 kids together, so I have step and half siblings. My mom's family were a big part of my life for the first 6 years, and then my dad and them fought because my dad had met his wife by then and he didn't like their reaction to the news. Essentially, he wanted to invite them over for my grandparents' yearly family barbecue, and my grandparents didn't want to include them. They told him they couldn't accept my mom's replacement. He got mad at them for feeling that's what he was doing, and he told them they could forget about seeing either of us again. He tried to keep me from them, but they filed for grandparents' rights and Dad's lawyer said they'd win, so he said I could see them once every 3 months for 4 hours. It was way less than I was used to, but it didn't stop me being close to them. He invited them to his wedding and they didn't come. It pissed him off more, and then he got super weird about it and he suddenly started demanding invites again for his wife's kids when I was invited, and then when my half-siblings were born, he was including them in the attempt to force my family's hands. But they never invited them. They did ask me if I wanted them there and I said not really. So they didn't change their mind. My dad always complained about them whenever my visits would come around. He really hated that I went and my step and half siblings couldn't. He tried to tell me I should advocate for them all to be included. I never replied to him because it was easier not to. Once I turned 14, he got worse with that stuff and he'd complain that I was calling and texting them and that I kept in touch more than the once every 3 months. He'd tell me they hate my siblings, that he didn't want us to have our family. I told him that didn't upset me or make me mad and it didn't change that I wanted to see them. The day I went back to school, senior year, my dad told me since I was graduating in May and I'd be 18, he needed to make it clear that I will need to choose. Because I can't keep spending time with people who refuse to include most of my family, and he told me I'll have to choose my family or them. I told him them were my family and I'd choose them. He didn't expect the answer. He got pissed and told me I should always choose siblings over extended family. Then he acted like I hadn't given my answer because he told me when he and his wife throw me the graduation party that I won't be allowed to invite my mom's side. I told him he didn't need to throw me one because they would and I'd made it clear my choice will be them. Dad told me that isn't how it works. I told him it is because he gave the ultimatum and he needs to live with the consequences. He accused me of twisting his words and disrespecting him by throwing that in his face. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. You are in no way wrong. That is how an ultimatum works. He knows that. Your father had no right to try to replace your family. Your father had no right to try to insert his children and stepchildren into the lives of people that were holding on to the last living representative of their deceased daughter. Your father had no right to try and separate you from people that love you. You lost a parent that will forever be in your heart. Your father should have respected that. Lean on your mom's family as they love you. Your father is in love with a fantasy. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry that your dad has tried to block you from your mom's side of the family, and has pushed at every turn for you to choose. That is a complete a-hole move. You shouldn't have to choose. There is enough love to go around. Your dad should want you to maintain contact with your mom's side of the family. It's unfortunate that your grandparents wouldn't let your dad's new family come to the barbecue. That sounds like a bit of an a-hole move, but it has nothing to do with whether you are an a-hole. You aren't. And also, given how your dad is behaving, I suspect that he might be enough of as a whole that I wouldn't want him at my barbecue either. Next story. Am I the a-hole for snapping at my sister that she'll choke on her jealousy one day? Hi. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I promise I'll clarify things if there are confusions and sorry about them in advance. I'm 21F and I have 2 siblings. My sister is 24 and engaged. My brother is 28 and married to my sister-in-law who is 25. My parents hosted a family luncheon to celebrate my sister's engagement at their house. I went early to help them set up, my brother and sister-in-law a little bit later than everyone else. My sister and her fiancé arrived last. Everything was going well and everyone was happy until my sister got a text and pulled me aside. She asked me if I could go outside and meet a friend of hers who's going to drop something off for her. I did. That something was a big ball of pure happiness, a Saint Bernard dog with a cute little formal tie around his neck. As adorable as he was, I couldn't bring him in because my sister-in-law is allergic. Her allergy is not severe but still. Everyone in the family knows of it. I told the friend to please wait while I talked to my sister, she did not. I texted my sister that I can't bring him inside. She texted that it was fine to bring it in because it's a surprise and he's the newest addition to the family. I insisted that I can't. Then I texted my brother about it because it had been 10 minutes, I'm standing in the driveway with a big doggy that would not stop licking my legs, not knowing what to do. From what I was told, inside, my brother pulled my sister aside and asked her not to bring the dog in. That she knows his wife is allergic. She refused, saying that it's an open space, that sister-in-law will be fine. He then told her the news that sister-in-law is pregnant. I already knew and they were waiting until she passed her first trimester. My sister then went outside, dragged the dog and then me in when I resisted. My brother, seeing this, excused himself and left with sister-in-law. We tried resuming the lunch after that, but it was awkward at best. When my sister and her fiancé cut the cake, she grabbed her glass of champagne to make a toast. The toast was her rambling about how selfish my brother and his wife were, that they couldn't let her have one day to herself and had to ruin and overshadow it. That they were not the first or last couple to get pregnant. Both of my parents tried to shush her, but she was on a roll and went on to call sister-in-law an attention seeker that just had to give the family the first grandchild. I finally had enough and told her that green isn't a good look on her and that she was going to choke on her jealousy one day. Then I got up and left. She called me a B-word on my way out. My mom called me after and told me that it was a bit harsh even if she was harsher. She also suggested that the three of us, siblings, talk it out after things settle a bit. My dad is staying neutral. I haven't heard from relatives that were at the luncheon. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Oh honey, you are definitely not the a-hole, but let's break this down with some sass. First off, your sister pulling that St. Bernard stunt at a family luncheon? Girl, she knew about the allergy, but instead of being a decent human, she chose chaos. That's like bringing a firework to a quiet night in. And then she had the nerve to drag that dog, and you, into the house, knowing full well the situation. No a-hole here, that's some diva behavior right there. As for your brother and his wife, they're not out here trying to steal her thunder, they're just living their lives. Her being mad that someone else has a big moment, and, let's be real, it's a baby, not a new handbag, is straight up petty. And that toast? Yikes. Sounds like she was throwing a jealousy tantrum, not making a speech. And calling you a B-word after you threw down some truth? Oof, that's a classic case of can't handle the truth. You said what needed to be said. Sometimes, folks need a reality check, and you served it with a side of sass. If your mom thinks it was too harsh, she probably didn't hear the full extent of what went down. And your dad staying neutral? Bless his heart, but neutrality in this mess ain't the vibe. When you do have that sibling chat, if you even want to bother, keep it real and remind your sister that other people can have good news, and it doesn't make her any less special. But if she keeps acting like a brat, maybe suggest she adopt some emotional maturity along with that St. Bernard. Keep your head up, queen. You handled that like a boss. Not the a-hole. Your sister did this deliberately to either harm your sister-in-law or chase her out so your sister could then complain/belittle her. This was a conscious setup that she was angry at being challenged on, especially when the pregnancy was mentioned. Note that you, brother or sister-in-law never mentioned their news to the guests, avoiding overshadowing your sister's day. Yet she announced the news, in a derogatory way, taking away the parents' option of announcing it for themselves. Your sister is vile and frankly, you need to tell your mother that she, and your father, need to step up, to tackle their appalling daughter. Challenge your mother on why she did not protect her daughter-in-law, on why instead of defending the victims of your sister's vendetta, your mother dismisses her behavior to the point of oh, just have a talk in a while and make up. Your sister, her daughter, tried to make your sister-in-law ill, then knowingly risked the pregnancy, took away the parents' moment to announce their pregnancy, at a later time, and treated you like trash. OP, your sister dragged you into the house despite you resisting. How on earth can your mother condone that? Why does she not even address how others were treated other than the one insult towards you at the end? Unfortunately, it seems that she has a favorite child, downplaying everything to benefit your sister. I would seriously speak to your father separately from her, lay out the situation in clear terms and have him make a decision, explain that he cannot keep fence-sitting as that is a side, one that passively supports this vindictive behavior. Good luck OP, reach out to your brother/sister-in-law. OP replies. My mom has always wanted us to talk our issues out because, at the end of the day, you're siblings. But yeah, that being said, I just want to clarify that even though she dragged me, it doesn't take much since I have the smallest stature of my siblings, so she didn't use a lot of force. I did call my brother and sister-in-law right after I got home, and they were good for the most part. They're obviously pissed, but since the news is already out, there's not much that can be done about it. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.